The Brooklyn Nets lose game number 2 of the preseason in China earlier this morning, and they fall to 1-1 on the preseason. Everything you need to know, what we learned, what came out of this game, that and so much more is coming right up on the show. Make sure you smash the like button, hit subscribe on your way into the building. If you haven't done so yet, it helps us grow a ton right here on the channel on our road to 500 subscribers. You guys are the best. You guys know the drill. Like and subscribe. Throw questions, comments, thoughts. Those go over there in the chat. Claude's in the building. What's up, Claude, as always? And everyone else tuning into the show. 132, 127, the final score in overtime. And if you just watch the first 5 minutes of the game, you would think the Brooklyn Nets would go on to win by 100. Because don't get used to it, folks. That is probably the best 7 minutes we will see out of the Nets this season. And yeah, it's preseason, so you can't really give out that award just yet. But oh my word, did the Nets come out firing on all cylinders. And they would slow things down in the second half. And once the rotational guys got off the court and gave leeway to some roster bubble guys towards the fourth quarter and overtime, things did get a little bit messy for Brooklyn. But they made their first 10 field goal attempts in a row to go up 18 points with around 7 minutes to play in the first quarter. And it's not only that the Nets were making everything, Phoenix was missing everything on their end. I mean, they couldn't get an open layup to go. I think their first 4 points all came off of free throws. So they were desert dry, no pun intended. The Nets were ice cold from the field to start things off. And when you look at it and you say, well, where did things go wrong in this game? And you could be mad that the Nets didn't pull this game out when it's all said and done. That's valid because this team is better and should have been better coached than they played down the stretch, and they came out flat out of the half. But it is preseason game number 2. The starters played basically none of the fourth quarter and none of overtime. And I thought I saw enough to where the point I was satisfied with what I saw to the Nets today. I learned a lot. And so I'm not mad. I'm just focused on the development, focused on what they learned. But if you want to pick a bone about that final score, you could easily make the argument that there was a terrible offensive foul called on Danny Wolf to send this game into overtime. The Nets are up 3 with about the 1 minute mark to play in the fourth quarter. And there was a terrible offensive foul. They called Danny Wolf for a push-off on a drive into the lane. The basket was good. He put up a floater. Nets would have taken a 5-point lead, and it maybe even would have been an and one had the Nets challenged. They didn't. Phoenix gets the ball. They tie things up and send it to overtime at 1:25. And from there, the collapse continued for Brooklyn. But again, I have no issue with the Nets losing this game. It's not about the final score. And at the end of the day, this Nets team isn't going to win very many games this year. So, arguing over whether or not they should have won their second preseason game and the first against NBA level competition, albeit overseas, is a pretty dumb thing to do in my eyes. But it's just learning more about who's where on the roster. Obviously, that's not the squad that would play should there be that close of a game down the stretch of a game in the regular season. That is going to be reserved for Nick Claxton and company. But from just what we saw today, we learned a lot about probably where people stand in terms of the Nets' outlook on them. I was correct in thinking that the Nets wanted to get Fenbo Zhang a lot of running these China games because that is his home country. So they wanted him to be able to show out and impress against the fans. Sneak peek, he didn't do too hot. He was he committed 2 fouls within, the first 2 minutes of him being out on the court, and he never really got rolling from the field. But it's all right. That's why you signed the guy to an Exhibit 10 contract. That's why he's going to be a two-wayer this year. Couple more notes on the game before we hop into player analysis and what I thought about each guy. I thought there was too many free throws given up. Like, every time I looked up, Phoenix was at the line, and they would just flash these graphs of, he's 22 of 24 from the line as a team, and just like in the third quarter. And so that's one of many things that had to get better for this Nets team. But that's why you play the preseason games. That's where you learn from, and that's where you try to work towards when the regular season gets underway. You make that better. You clean up those simple mistakes. And when you get back to it, who knows? Maybe that's not an issue once the basketball games start counting. Smash a like and hit subscribe if you're tuned in live. Throw questions, comments, thoughts, reactions into the chat. Nets drop game number 2 of the preseason by 5 in OT. 132-127 is the final from Macau, China. Reactions, how each player played, and all that coming right up. And the guy I feel as though we have to start with is the guy that got all the attention this offseason. People said he wasn't good enough to get paid. People said the qualifying offer is the best he's going to get and that nobody else in the NBA wanted him. And I was fully on board with the plan of trading Cam Thomas. But my goodness, he showed you why he is described as one of the craftiest guards in the league. He can score from anywhere at any time on a basketball court. I mean, the effort was there defensively for me. Whether that's due to coaching, whether that's due to a personal drive to get better and get paid next offseason, Cam Thomas has put in work on the defensive end. And his scoring was just as good as it's ever been. I think he started 6 of 6 from the field, maybe 7 of 7. But he was getting everything. Some of those jump shots were filthy. He was double teamed on the baseline, went out towards the top of the key, took one step back. The defender had his back turned to him just about when the ball was put up at a very tough angle, almost parallel with the backboard, and got it to float in. There was another one. He's driving down the lane with too much speed to slow down and put up a controlled shot. His body's flailing, banks it high off the glass. Cam Thomas, the ball coming out of his hand at a magnet to the bottom of the hoop today. He played about as well as you could have asked him to. And again, the effort was there defensively, and I think that's just important. For him, he was at that cap of 24 minutes. He's the net that got the highest minutes amount earlier this morning. It's weird saying earlier this morning. They never play regular season games in the morning, but 24 minutes. The hard cap for Jordy was about 20, so he went a little over that, but that's just because of how he played, man. 6 of 6 from the free throw line, 7 of 12 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3. Dished out 6 assists and scored 22 points in 24 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. And to me, he was a he was a versatile player today. And that's what you want to see out of Cam Thomas. You want to see multiple facets being incorporated into his game. He brought in a couple passes. He was crashing the boards for rebounds. And again, I don't need him to be an A-plus defender. I don't need him to be anything close to it, frankly, on the defensive end. I don't need him crashing the boards. He gives you effort besides when the ball's not in his hands and when he's not being the ISO scorer that we all know he can be. If he gives you effort, that's enough for Cam Thomas out of me. And I'm not going back. I'm not changing my stance on where I was this offseason. Cam Thomas just shut a lot of narratives up today. And if that's how he's going to play in the regular season, he stays healthy, he's going to earn himself a bag. He is. He played really well, and it seems like he has realized and isolated the weaknesses in his game and worked on it in the offseason. Smash the like and hit subscribe if you're tuned into the show. You guys are the best. Send this to friends and family. Get them on board and follow the Instagram, baby. Daily content there, _Brooklyn Boys. Great day for Cam Thomas. Another great day for another C-man. First guy off the bench I want to mention today because he played a beautiful game. A guy that struggled from 3 last year, but that's clear. He stepped that up in the offseason. He's been working on it his entire pro career, trying to get better at that. And that is Noah Clowney, baby. He played good basketball. That's the simplest way I can put it. He played good basketball. He hit shots when he needed to. Phoenix clearly didn't watch enough tape. They were not stepping up and closing out on his three-point attempts. And maybe that's not about watching tape. Maybe I'm wrong there because he hasn't put many made shots on tape for them to watch. 3 of 3 from the field. 3 of 3 from 3. Put in 13, the leading scorer off the bench. One of only 2 guys in double digits off the bench. And 13 points in 18 minutes. And that goes along with 4 rebounds. Noah Clowney, baby. That's what we want to see out of you. I understand that you're not the biggest big man in the league. You're not going to get the rebounds over the Kuman Malawatches, the 7-footers of our world. You play that 4 effectively, man. That's going to be something that this front court could extremely benefit from. Between Sharp, Clowney, and Claxton, none of those guys are really known to hit threes. So if Clowney steps it up like this, that is a mega boost to this front court and their potential. And it just spaces the floor more. If you're sending out a 4 and a 5 in Sharp and Clowney, and they know neither are perimeter threats, first of all, it limits what you can do in terms of drawing up plays. Because if you set a pick at the top and the double team falls to the ball handler and you're open, but you're not a perimeter threat, then nobody cares. Because if you're open and you can't score, who does that help? So, man, Noah Clowney, if he could step this up, if he could make that leap this season, not only huge for him and his career outlook, huge for this team. And again, this is a team that's going to be willing to give out minutes by committee. Jordy Fernandez is not going to be locking things in. Noah Clowney heats up from 3. Noah Clowney's going to be in the game. Day'Ron Sharp, not rebounding well, which, I shouldn't say that because he did rebound well, but if he didn't rebound well, not in the game. So, it's as simple as that in terms of Nets rotations, and I loved the way Noah Clowney played today. Knocked down a couple open threes. Played his role extremely well off the bench because there was a lot of him and Sharp at the same time. Jordy was trying to test the waters on that approach, and it worked out today for him. Let's keep it in the big man department. Nick Claxton, an extremely interesting character. Threw up 12 points in 20 minutes for this team. 5 of 8 from the field, so not bad. And he snagged 9 rebounds, 5 assists, so a rebound shy of a double-double. And you can't complain about that. That's the old Nick Claxton we're talking about. And he certainly showed signs of that today. They were talking about it on the broadcast. I'm not sure who was on the broadcast for Phoenix because it was the NBA TV had the Phoenix broadcast going. The Nets didn't do it. But they were talking about how he used to be a 70% from the field guy, leading the NBA in shooting percentage. That's because he would only shoot within his little 4-foot radius of the basket. It was either a little tap in, a dunk, a layup, mostly dunks. But that's the Nick Claxton we want to return to. And he certainly showed signs of that today. He rebounded well, snagged 3 offensive rebounds, which you'll love to see. So did Noah Clowney. 3 offensive rebounds for the 2 of them. Love it. 9 in total for Claxton, and then 5 assists. That also stands out. I like the way, especially in the first half, especially when the starters were playing and the front of the line rotation guys. I'm not so much worried about the back end. They have a lot to focus on individually. But the front end, I like the chemistry. There was a lot of drives and kicks. There were some bad turnovers, I'll give you that. Ben Zaraf, I'll get to you, buddy. You're highlighted in that tier. Nolan Traore, didn't love it. But Nets had some good passes. Set up open 3-point shots. Guys like Michael Porter Jr., Cam Thomas were able to knock them down. And overall, there was different roles for this Nets team, and that's what you're trying to get out of the preseason. Nick Claxton, perfectly fine with his performance today. Almost a double-double, a rebound shy. That is a good performance, Nick Claxton. Well done. Couldn't say that last year very much. He just wasn't that solid. He wasn't that consistent. Again, need that 2023 Nick Claxton to come back this season. And that begins to look like a much better deal in the eyes of Nets fans. That 4-year, $100 million deal. And when you're talking about the switched roles, Terrence Mann, coming from leading the Nets in points last game, takes that step back. Only contributes 4 in 20 minutes. But was a focal point of this offense. Picked up 2 steals, 2 assists. And was a role player. Nets don't need him to be anything more than that. Was a role player for this team. And again, that's perfectly fine. Smash a like and hit subscribe if you're tuning in with us live. Running through key takeaways from the Nets' loss in China to the Phoenix Suns. They'll do it again Sunday morning, 7 a.m. Set your alarms if you haven't done so yet. I had to get League Pass earlier today to be able to watch this game on replay when I got home from school. That's how I did it. Because I don't think they were showing it in the Brooklyn market. So I got League Pass. I'm ready to go for Sunday, assuming that's where it'll be again. I'll double check for you guys on the pregame. The pregame for that game will probably be tomorrow afternoon. So I would guess somewhere like a 3 p.m. pregame show in the neighborhood if we do one at all, because we're certainly not waking up and doing a 6 a.m. pregame show. That is not how this is going to work out. Only 2 guys that did not play. Keep an asterisk here. The only 2 guys that did not play are E.J. Liddell on a 2-way contract. Both these coaches' decisions. The other 2 that didn't play, Haywood Highsmith, Yegor Gielman, we knew it. E.J. Liddell on a 2-way. And Dariq Whitehead, the only other non-injury factored, did not play via a coach's decision. And I highly, highly, highly doubt that the Nets have enough confidence in Dariq Whitehead that they don't need him to go out onto the court and they don't need him to risk getting injured. They're that confident that they just want to sideline him with no apparent injury. That is bad, bad, bad news for you Dariq Whitehead truthers out there. His time might be up in Brooklyn, and that is a little bit disappointing, but a coach's DNP is a gut wrench to what he's looking at here. It guys like basically everyone ahead of him at a guard played more than him. Kobe Buffkin, Tyrese Martin, Jalen Wilson, all double-digit minutes, guys. Couldn't find any space for Dariq Whitehead. That is very interesting. Another interesting candidate today, Tyrese Martin, because where he played is what's the most shocking to me. He played all right in the first game against Hopwell. Shot 1 of 5 from the field. Didn't take anything inside 2. But then comes out today and is running with the second team. He was one of the first 9 in the rotation. So the 5 starters and the 5 off the bench. And he ends up playing 13 minutes. So he checks in fairly early, doesn't stay in for all that long, is in and off the bench. But again, 1 of 5 from the field, including 1 of 2 from 3. And put in 4 points. 2 turnovers, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. Nothing. Nothing again. Came out flat. Didn't hit a couple good looks. But the Nets are running in with the second team. What does that tell you? My goodness, what does that tell you? If you're a Net fan, you're seeing Tyrese Martin running with the 2s and Derek Whitehead not check in. Some very interesting coaching decisions from Fernandez and his staff. Fenbo Zhang, the Chinese man, it looked a little lost. I mentioned this earlier. It was kind of like he was overexcited to play back in China. He got a little bit of happy feet, 2 fouls in the first minute of himself being on the court. And then winds up when it's all said and done, not scoring, not even attempting a shot. And finishing with 10 minutes played, and he was part of that squad that was the epitome of the downfall of the collapse in terms of plus minus. Negative 15 in 10 minutes played, but it's not his fault. He's not the primary guy out on the court. So I can't really blame that. One other interesting coaching decision. After Ben Saraf's 5 personal foul debacle in game 1 against Hapoel Jerusalem, Jordi Fernandez pivoted and put his other rookie in the lineup, Nolan Traore, started as the point for this team. And he played 17 minutes and put in 6 points. I wasn't truly impressed. He and Saraf both had a bad air ball each. They both lined it up from 3 and missed everything. So that did not look good. And then I also thought neither handed the ball really well. 4 turnovers for Traore. That's not good if you're running the point guard. So, looked a little sloppy. Passing wasn't very crisp when either of them were running the offense. So you got to think, like, is Yegor Gioman that vital to running this offense? Should this injury have a setback? Hopefully not, but you have to think long term. You have to think big picture about stuff that is, could be on the horizon. And as unfortunate as that would be, that seems like it certainly could be an option here in terms of having to figure out Nolan Traore versus Ben Saraf starting at the 1 if Gioman's injury setback happened. So you hope not. As of now, we haven't gotten an official word from the Nets, but they're hoping he's on track to start the season. At least that was the word at Media Day about 3 weeks ago. Can't be 100% sure if anything's changed since then. Keep you updated on the injury front. But then, again, the only injured guy besides that would be Haywood Highsmith, who we knew wouldn't play. So, take that as you will. A lot of decisions to be made. But I feel like, worrying about backups and injuries at this point is the last thing you want to do. Kobe Buffkin got a little bit dinged up. He took a bad spill after it was Drew Timme. Went in for a layup, and accidentally smacked him on the nose on the way by. So he was down for a little bit. Overall, Buffkin did not impress me at all. I'll get to him. Buffkin was overconfident. He was just jacking up threes that he had no business taking. And he was taking bad shots. Like, I don't remember the exact situation. I think the Nets were up 2 with the ball. And they got it up into the front court pretty quickly. And Kobe Buffkin lined up a 29-footer at the top of the key with 20 seconds left on the shot clock. Missed Nets empty possession. Didn't even get a rebound. So, that's the stuff that just can't happen. That's the stuff if you want to play meaningful minutes on this team. I'll put it simply for you. I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. That just can't happen. Might be coaching. Might just be Kobe Buffkin's overconfidence and, if I hit this, here goes my chances at making the roster. But at the end of the day, the guy got traded for pocket change. This Nets team literally needed to get rid of money somewhat. That's how they acquired him. There's no allegiance to him. He has to prove everything to this team. In their eyes, he's done nothing. So that's why you see him, frantically trying to add to his points column. And he finishes with a -8. Finishes with 6 points, but 3 of those came from the free throw line. Not a good day. Defensively, it was worse. He completely screwed up the systems. Drawn out of positioning on back-to-back possessions. He did not play team basketball. And it's not only that he was getting drawn out of his positions. Like, it's hard to explain, but someone would have the ball at the top. He'd overstep it. And then when he tried to recover, multiple Nets would have to step up in his place. And it just led to wide open layups. And he was way over aggressive, overconfident, shooting balls he shouldn't have, playing bad defense. And he was playing when the game mattered most. He played the entire overtime period, played a lot of the fourth quarter. So he played the final 12 minutes of the game? He was one of the reasons this Nets team lost. If you are counting wins and losses in the preseason. Timmy also didn't look too strong. That's been my guy all offseason, but Timmy was the opposite. He wasn't aggressive enough. He was not getting rebounds. He also sort of looked out of place. He wasn't shooting the ball. Maybe that's a lack of confidence. So the two of those guys who played a ton of meaningful minutes, they certainly had trouble down the stretch. Michael Porter Jr. threw in minimal effort. It was a sort of business trip with other incentives for him. The effort, he would just throw balls away, but that doesn't mean he played poorly. It means he probably didn't care that much. He's a guy that already has won an NBA championship, but look, he contributed 13 to this team. Tied as the second leading scorer on the day with Noah Clowney. No problem with how he played. He's not there to do anything else besides basically score. So, differences between Cam Thomas and Michael Porter Jr. today. First of all, Cam Thomas puts up 22. That's the first big difference. Second big difference is Cam Thomas at least gave effort in other facets of the game. Picked up a steal. 6 assists for Thomas. Porter turned it over 3 times. So overall, just Cam Thomas played better. That's why he got more minutes at the end of the day. Smash a like, hit subscribe. We'll get to the big one coming up. We'll break down Drake Powell. But we got to get to 2 smaller guys first. Danny Wolf, Jalen Wilson. Wilson, another roster bubble guy. I didn't hate the way he played. He kind of stuck to the script and what he's supposed to do. 2 of 3 from 3 for 6 points. You don't hate it. Definitely could have been better. But at the end of the day, look, This is a guy that has no business making the roster, if you ask me. And I don't think he proves it with a good preseason. Like, I'd just much rather give it to someone with more potential, and that's not Wilson for me. That's certainly not him. In terms of Wolf, 5 turnover game, but hit a 3, 4 from the line in only 14 minutes, but the 5 turnovers were a killer. That's a big reason why this Nets team didn't play well down the stretch. A lot of turnovers, ton of turnovers. I think they had something like 22 turnovers at some point in the third quarter. It was pretty bad. It was not good at all. What's up, Awesome LA? Talking about Timmy, and a little bit before that with Timmy, I was talking about Buffkin, who did not play well. Appreciate you tuning in, though, Awesome LA. And then Tariq Whitehead and EJ Liddell, the only 2 guys that did not check into the game, and that's big. That is big for Tariq Whitehead in the worst way possible. But ladies and gentlemen, the man who made his Brooklyn Nets debut today, the 22nd pick, it was revealed on the pregame show. I told you about it. Mr. Brian Lewis of the New York Post revealed earlier this week Powell was off the injury report. And look, he made the most of his first outing. It was certainly an interesting one. Played 13 minutes, went 2 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3. 6 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. I thought, just from the eye test, Drake Powell, gave me enough to be confident. He came into the game immediately, hit his first 3, just to raise that confidence a little bit. First 3 at the NBA level, because you got to remember, the guy didn't play during the summer. Then on the defensive end, immediately follows that up with a poke away out of bounds. He picked the pocket of the Suns ball handler, and I thought it might have been off of Phoenix, but the refs initially called it off of Brooklyn, and then I believe they overturned it. So he gets a steal right off the bat as well. So he did look good. A 3 and then a steal right off the bench in your first couple NBA minutes. There's nothing to complain about there. From there, he slowed down a little bit. But I did like the aggressiveness and I like the athleticism. And you got to give him a pass since it's his first game. Was injured all summer league. Injured in the first preseason game. Was held out of some of the contact drills during camp. And we knew in media day. And since then, it was going to take a little bit to try and get him back. So, super happy for him, that he's back for the second preseason game rather than just like the fourth and having to get tossed right into the regular season. That might have been a rough start, but gives him time to get the body acclimated, get adjusted to the NBA-style defenses. And overall, for a loss, it's the preseason. I thought this Nets team played well. I thought Drake Powell definitely showed some positives, mainly on the defensive end, though. That first 3 when he checked in was electric, no doubt. I was extremely happy to see that one. That was probably the happiest I got for a shot this year. Initially, I didn't even realize he checked in because it was an all-Suns crew, and they were botching a lot of names. They called Kobe Buffkin like Birkin a couple times, and they called Ben Saraf Nolan Traore, so they weren't exactly tuned into the names, and I honestly don't think they knew that this was Drake Powell's first game, but whatever. That's besides the point. You take the positives you can get from a guy in his first NBA game, and you go from there. What's up? Vlad is in the chat. He says, how's MPJ done in the preseason? He shot pretty well, actually, today. 2 of 3 from 3, put up 13 points, 50% shooting from the field, and he turned in a pretty good game, but again, I think the stats, Michael Porter Jr. will speak for themselves. Established NBA veteran, someone who, this isn't a guy that's on the roster bubble per se, not at all. Probably going to be the second Nets leading scorer, I'd guess, right behind Cam Thomas. Those could easily vice versa flip. So he didn't put in a ton of effort in the preseason, and I don't think he needs to. He treated this more like a vacation trip and an actual preseason game more than a lot of the guys towards the end of the bench. But I thought Michael Porter Jr. played well enough in game one and game two. But game two, he turned in a good game in the stat category, but 3 turnovers was a little sloppy and didn't really show like he necessarily wanted to be out there so much. But Vlad, appreciates you tuning in. Keep loading them up. Questions, comments, thoughts, anything you want to talk about related to the Nets. Load all of those up. We'll get to all your questions, comments, thoughts on the other side of this break. You're listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show, Friday, October 10th. First loss of the preseason, and it comes to the Phoenix Suns in China.
You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show with your host, Connor Long. If you're enjoying the show, drop us a sub and leave a like. It helps more Nets fans find us. Quick break, then back to talking Brooklyn Nets basketball.
Today's episode of the Brooklyn Boys Show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Shoreline Sports Cards, located at 137 Main Street in Port Washington, New York. Whether you're chasing the newest hobby boxes, grabbing singles, or just want to talk cards with fellow collectors, Shoreline is the spot. They've got a massive selection across basketball, football, baseball, and more, with new inventory hitting the shelves every single week. If you're local, make sure to stop by the shop at 137 Main Street in Port Washington and check it out for yourself. If you're not in the area, no worries at all. You can still keep up with Shoreline by following them on Instagram, eBay, and whatnot for product drops, live breaks, deals, and hobby updates. All links are right in the description down below. Huge thanks to Shoreline Sports Cards for supporting the show and the Brooklyn Nets community.
Excuse me, the mic was muted. It is the Brooklyn Boys Show, live Friday, October 10th. We are 2 weeks away from the Nets home opener, Friday, October 24th, at the Barclays Center, Nets Cavs, and we are about 12 days away from the Nets season opener down in Charlotte, Wednesday the 22nd, baby. After such a long offseason, we are oh so close to getting there. Smash a like and hit subscribe. That helps our viewership rise, helps other people learn about this, helps grow this great community that you all get to be a part of. You guys are the best. We got a ton of great guests coming up. Our guy Connor, back in the house, baby, for the regular season. He'll be on with us later this week. He's got a couple guests lined up that he wants you guys tuned in for. So make sure you stay in touch. Follow us on Instagram if you haven't done so yet. Get a ton of great content there. You get pre, you get post, you get, most importantly, halftime reaction. Learn what's happening throughout the game in case you need to get caught up on what's happening. Learn when we're going live. Get everything Nets related there on what will now be your number one source for Nets content on social media and short form content. It's the Brooklyn Boys on Instagram. You guys are the best. Let's get to your questions, your comments, your thoughts in the chat. Claude, when's the early bird race today? Says, looked good? No, but they aren't expected to at this point. Absolutely. And looked good was more of on an individual level for me. Who looked good, who didn't. So, obviously, Cam Thomas probably wins the best player award, and Ben Saraf certainly struggled, and so did Kobe Buffkin. But then again, you had guys like Cam Thomas, you had the Nick Claxtons, you had the Noah Clowneys of the world. That made you feel at least a little bit confident about this team. And look, if nothing else, and I didn't get to this, I meant to, 127 points. Not too shabby for a team that didn't play any of their starters the final probably 15, 20 minutes of this game, including OT. So that's because they just went off in that first quarter, scoring 10 field goals in a row. My goodness, that was a scoring fest. Let's see. A second-year head coach and a roster with mainly mediocre to low talent. We will see. That's where the baseline's at this season, Claude. Like, I could easily see this Nets team being the worst in the league. I have them as bottom 2. Probably the worst team in the league. Right around the 18-win mark is where I'm hovering. But I wouldn't be shocked if they go in and win 26 games and like surprise me. Because at the end of the day, this Nets team isn't competing. We both know that. They have low talent. Let's see. To your point about the second-year head coach, I disagree. I think Jordi Fernandez did enough to show that he's an established name, to show that he can get talent in the building. Hopefully, Juwan Howard's another has a good year as an assistant coach for Brooklyn, and he's very helpful to these guys' development. Obviously, his whole history with Michigan probably should be of help. So I think this coaching staff has the tools, has the assets to get these guys developed. But you're right, low talent. This is probably the lowest talented roster in the NBA. There's a stat that popped up for me. Only team in the NBA with no current or former All-Stars on their team, on their current roster. So nobody that was an All-Star last year. Nobody that has ever made an All-Star team is on the Brooklyn Nets this year. They are the only team in the NBA for that stat to be true. About all 29 other teams in the league have at least one player who is a former All-Star. So there you go. That should prove low talent. Enough for you. Claude says Jordy is rounding out his decision on the final three cuts. And I think that's what he was looking at in terms of managing this game. You could have put Nick Claxton and Cam Thomas back in there to win this game, but who cares? You're not playing preseason for the record. You're playing to get acclimated for the regular season. You're playing to figure out rosters, and you're playing to figure out roles and rotations. So just didn't make sense. You're right, Claude. Had to see how guys played in big time performances against NBA competition, and clearly some people handled it better than others. But it is a telling sign for me that Dariq Whitehead didn't even play today. Cam won't return after the season. Nets will lose him for nothing. Nice going, Sean. That's what's frustrating, right? Like, you couldn't get a sign and trade done. At that point, you bring him back on $6 million qualifying offer just so Brooklyn doesn't blow you up, Sean Marks. Like, can you imagine? I mean, I'm pretty sure that at this point, Sean Marks was so fed up with Cam Thomas, he's like, take the qualifying offer, my goodness. Because if Cam Thomas walked away, because I don't truly think the Nets and Sean Marks were that keen on keeping Cam Thomas, but imagine he walked away and they didn't even get him back on the qualifying offer. Oh my, this city would have ran rampant. So I feel like that has to be at least a factor in the decision to bring him back on the qualifying offer. Because, again, if they wanted to get the deal done and keep him here long term, it would have happened in June. So that's where I am on this. I think you're right, Claude. I think they do lose him for nothing. You guys are the best, baby. Despite a Nets lost, first of many coming this fall, this winter, this spring. But we got you covered each and every day right here on the channel. So subscribe, turn on notifications to never miss an upload or when we go live. You'll get notified on when new drops are coming out. We are so close to 500 subscribers and monetization. We're 50 away, people. You can do it. Take 3 seconds, completely free. Hit that subscribe button. You guys are the best. First loss of probably many, but it's all right. We'll live. Have a great night, everybody. Stay safe. And until next time, let's go Nets. Bye, everyone.